For me, workspace, and when we're talking about it in a holistic approach, we are talking about an employee or C-suite person, so their physical space that they sit and work at every day. So whether it's a desk, private office, workstation, but it also includes meeting rooms, those little collaborative areas like we talked about. It can include a lounge area where people can just chill out on sofas and work. It includes your break room, stairwells, that kind of can play a part on wellness. Bathrooms. I mean, seriously, because who wants to go into a gross bathroom? So just literally every aspect of your office building that is in relation to your company. And so when we're looking and working with people in terms of workspace, we are looking at every square inch of that building.
Welcome to the Cities Podcast, powered by the Business Journal's Leadership Trust. Each episode on Cities looks at a particular topic, challenge, trend, or political situation through the lens of local markets. Our contributors are members of Business Journal's Leadership Trust.
Hey everyone, this is Stephen Ganoza. This is our first episode in a series called The Future of Work, where we will talk with members of the Leadership Trust about what cities and businesses are doing to prepare for the workplace of the future. Today, we have my interview with Courtnay Bradley. Courtnay lives and works in Kansas City, where she is a member of the Kansas City Business Journal Leadership Trust and the founder and chief purpose officer of Trilogie. Trilogie provides furniture and workspace-related services to businesses of all sizes. We had a great discussion about workspace, how it has evolved over the years, what really makes an impact, and how your company can optimize its workspace to drive productivity and employee engagement. Courtnay, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So before we get into your work specifically in Kansas City, big picture, let's talk about physical workspace. Tell me how physical workspace impacts a company, productivity, recruiting, whatnot.
So physical workspace, at Trilogie, we talk about how your physical workspace can actually impact 5 areas of your business. We call them success drivers and we call them the Fab 5. But it's your company culture. It's that employee engagement level and that employee experience that your employees have when they're in your space. And it's also workplace wellness. It can also impact your recruiting and retention efforts and also impact your company's innovation. So it's pretty important.
When you discuss workspace, what does it encompass? And can you provide some examples?
For me, workspace, and when we're talking about it in a holistic approach, we are talking about an employee or C-suite person, so their physical space that they sit and work at every day. So whether it's a desk, private office, workstation, whatever that looks like for them. And then, but it also includes, meeting rooms. It can include a lounge area where people can just chill out on sofas and work. It includes your break room, stairwells, that kind of can play a part on wellness. Bathrooms. I mean, seriously, because who wants to go into a gross bathroom? So just literally every aspect of your office building that is in relation to your company is what I consider workspace. Because again, you can work anywhere in that building. You could sit on a window ledge and work if you wanted to. It could be literally anything. And so when we're looking and working with people in terms of workspace, we are looking at every square inch of that building.
Got it. So step one in thinking about workspace was to make sure that the workspace reflects the culture of the company, right?
If you have good culture and you have a workspace, a physical building, office space, whatever, that isn't supporting that culture, then you're not using your workspace to its full optimum levels. For example, there's a company here in Kansas City called Adaptive Solutions Group, and they really pride themselves on having a true open door policy for their employees. And when they went through and did a build out recently, they left all the doors off of the private offices. So that's a way that their space was really supporting the fact that they truly do have an open door policy. And then if you're a company it's big, it's important for you to have a healthy workplace, and you've got junk food and things like that in the break rooms, then you're not supporting your culture through what you're providing in your workspace. Does that make sense? I'll give another example. I'm going to go ahead and bounce down to recruiting and retention. There's a statistic out there that shows that 47% of interview candidates decide whether or not they're going to accept an offer. They judge part of that decision on what the interview room was like. So if you have a dismal environment and where you're interviewing candidates, you could be losing almost half of them based on just the physical area alone. So that's pretty shocking, actually. I giggle all the time. I'm like, they're judging you definitely as much as you're judging them. So it's interesting.
Right.
And then also the fact that Gensler did a study a couple years ago that said only 25% of employees are working in an optimal environment. And so it can really be used as a recruiting tool, even if you just make small improvements to your existing workspace and office space, then you could be, light years ahead of your competitors for obtaining that other 75% of people who aren't working in the optimal environment.
So 2 things to unpack there. So first off, places like WeWork then are actually doing it right when they have like games and beer and stuff?
Yes, they are. And that's an interesting thing to bring up. I think, we talked about maybe that we'd talk about kind of the future of workspace. And I truly believe that the co-working model in terms of what their space is like is really the future of where kind of workspace in general will go, that they have a lot of different areas that you can work in different ways. So they have their offices that people can kind of do heads down work and kind of have that deep focus areas. Then you've got areas like the collaborative areas where you can just sit and take your laptop and be using it on a sofa, or kind of that coffee house kind of feel. But then you have other collaborative areas that you can take a group into. So it's just a nice mix of space.
So how much of this is generational though, right? Because one might assume older generations, care about the corner office.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got 5 generations currently in the workforce right now. And, it's interesting you mentioned the corner office. I made a note about that. The oldest generation are the traditionalists. That's the name of the generation. And then you have baby boomers, would be the next oldest. And, if you think about the way they were working in kind of the height of maybe their career, is that you were aspiring to get to that big corner office, right? And then, in the 60s and 70s, you had still like the secretarial pool that was out in the middle. So there was an open office feel about it. But I mean, theirs were just desks in the middle of the room. And so then you kind of morph into the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, where you the cubes came out, you have workstations, you got a little bit more privacy, in terms of everybody had a little bit of privacy because you had the workstation panel walls. Offices were getting just a little bit smaller, but the workstations were like 8 by 10, and that was huge. And then as technology has advanced, technology has gotten smaller. So coupled with technology getting smaller and real estate costs getting higher, that has driven the kind of movement to getting more bodies in less space. So with that comes the challenge of trying to accommodate all the different generations, because then you've got your Gen Xers who are kind of right in the middle. That's what I am. And I feel like I can go either way. I love to have my private time, but I also like to collaborate. But then you're getting the younger generations, the millennials and the Gen Zers, who they grew up on this small technology, right? They've had a computer in their pocket since birth, basically. And so you just really have to be mindful of being able to still accommodate different work styles, different philosophies on work. So it's kind of a balancing act between, your staff needs to be in a position where they're willing to accept some of these new changes. But then as leaders, you also need to be providing space kind of that is going to help balance all of it out. So it's a tightrope. Why I have a job. I help get through those things.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that, because it's interesting when you lay it out on a timeline like that, how the workspace has evolved over time, either to reflect the generations or maybe the generations of products that work. I don't know. Maybe that's
Right.
chicken and the egg sort of a thing.
Well, there's all that talk out there that millennials are changing the way we work, and they are, but it's not just them. Like it's the technology that has allowed them to be able to work anywhere. You can work anywhere now. And so that's how they're used to working. So of course they're going to want to be able to kind of incorporate those things into their careers. But it's not, it's not all on them. There was a huge advance in that technology to get them to the point that that's what they're used to.
And what's interesting is thinking about space as much broader than just like the furniture or whatever, right?
We really dive in and talk to the employees about how do you work. And that's why I say it is client specific, because you might have, a creative firm that they're going to have more collaboration than maybe a law firm. Law firms might have more client facing areas that, so I mean, that's why we make it very specific to each client that we're working with, because no two clients are alike.
Is there a success story you could share from one of your clients?
There is. So, I love these guys. It's Cross First Bank. They're based here out of Kansas City, and they've been a client since they opened their doors back in 2006, 2007. And what's really fun with them is that we've kind of, it's been a while. They've been a client for a while. And every time we build out a new space, because they're growing and they, acquire a new building, or they've gone into different markets and things like that, I've seen many iterations of kind of the things that we've talked about. Like, when we first started out, they didn't have workstations. They only had private offices. Then when they moved into their first or their second building, they, needed more kind of an open office feel, but they didn't want those people to feel like they were in open offices. So we, were very intentional with the design we did there. But this is kind of this is back in 2010. So before I was even really doing the things I'm talking about now. So the next time we built out a new space, we again surveyed the employees, and there were things that we didn't get right with those first workstations. So we made sure we changed it around the next go around. So every time they build something out, we go back and ask the employees, what did we get right? What would you like to see changed? And, what other amenities are you looking for? What, really just deep diving into what it is they need to be successful every day and to feel like, everyone wants them to be there and everyone wants to be performing their best. And so the big project where they kind of consolidated all their buildings into one main headquarters happened in 2017, 2018. And again, we went through the whole process, but it's really been cool that they've also embraced I don't want to say trends, but the changes that are happening in the workplace in terms of like kind of moving to that more open model where you've got touchdown areas and true collaborative areas that you can just, impromptu meeting, but then still have a little bit of an air of privacy. And, since I don't have any way to show you what I'm talking about, there's little we'll call them meeting kiosks. So they do offer an air of privacy, but it's not a meeting room. It's not a true meeting room. And so they've just really incorporated a lot of the things that are kind of up and coming in terms of the contract furniture world. And the employees love it. And they went to, they've had nice cafes that they have for their employees. But this last go around, obviously because they have more people in the building, they really went all out. They, have a huge open area where they've got booths and couches, and they've got farmhouse style tables, kind of community tables, and they've got, standard tables and chairs, but then they've got over in another area, they've got fireplace, and it kind of has that coffee bar feel. So they've really, it's been exciting to watch them embrace the future of workspace, and how it's impacting their people is truly a success.
Are they able to measure that impact?
So with them, we've done all this before we were actually doing the measurements. So we haven't done that, but I will say the last time that we did the survey, and this was when we were doing their building, the Tomahawk building in Leawood, we did the survey asking, what did we get right? What in your dream world, what would you want? And what do you want? They did ask the question of what do you want the space, how do you want that to reflect like our culture as a company? And it was very exciting to read the results. There were some funny ones in there. Somebody asked for like some sort of oxygenized like sleeping chamber. They did not go forward with that, but they did have a ton of people said, we appreciate the fact that you're putting so much effort into the space and and getting our opinions. Like there were multiple people who said, the bank's motto is serving people in extraordinary ways. And one that stuck out completely to me was one response said, it's our motto that we serve people in extraordinary ways, but that you as an employer are serving your employees in an extraordinary way because you are making a point to be intentional about the space. And so while we don't have any metric in terms of like a number, to me, the fact that people were responding like that is a measure of success.
For sure. And you can't make all the people happy all the time, but the fact that you're even including your employees in the discussion, even that guy who didn't get his oxygen chamber,
right.
He's probably happier
electric
for having a
chargers
voice.
for cars, which would have been really cool. But yeah, no, I mean, there were some big ideas on there.
So what's interesting is to use WeWork as a stereotype, right? These open floor plans, these little meeting rooms, and what you were describing, I kind of think of them as like large phone booths that you can go in and talk in.
Yeah, you can fit multiple people in there. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So like all of this would have been inconceivable 15 years ago.
100% inconceivable. Yes.
So I imagine, again, going back to that timeline you laid out about how Workspace has evolved over the decades. Do you have any sense of where we're going to be at the end of this decade? Like, what is the future of work?
I think that there will always be a need for physical space because you're always going to need that human connection. At least I hope so. I hope we never get to, and it's not business related. I just can't imagine a world where we don't have that kind of human connection. But you're always going to need a space to gather, whether that's to actually do your work, or maybe it's just more kind of bringing clients in. And I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. But I do think that remote work is going to continue, maybe work from home is going to continue to grow. And I think as an employer that leaders need to have a plan ready for that, because you don't want to, not include those work from home people from the culture that you're building. Or, if you have this amazing space, but you do have remote workers, you need to have maybe a remote package or something that has great tools for them to use, so that they also feel like they are part of that team and they're getting the same physical benefits that the people in the brick and mortar office are getting.
Right, so it's sort of a hybrid model.
Yes.
Until we can have like virtual reality meetings.
Right.
So,
yeah, like what was that? What was that movie, Demolition Man, where they have the the headphones on and like it's all surreal? So yeah, no, I don't really want to get to that point, but I like interacting with people.
So if you're a business owner or you run the office or whatnot, are there any red flags that your workspace is not working for your employees? Anything to look out for? What's the first step that you can take to make it a better workspace?
So there's a couple things. And I think the biggest red flags that maybe something isn't working, and this is going to be kind of in relation to those Fab 5 things too. So the red flags would be if you have high levels of turnover, Um, it's I'm not saying it's all your furniture because there are likely other factors in play, but that could be part of it. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever worked in an environment, but I used to work at a company that I swear I would have to restart my computer like 10 times a day because it would freeze up. And so I got so frustrated one day. I closed my laptop. I drove out to a computer store that was 25 minutes away, spent my own money to buy my own computer, and went back to the office.
Oh,
Because I'm
wow.
like, I can't do my job if this thing I have to restart it. So it's, if you have things like that that are happening, it's impacting engagement and it's could impact your retention. So did I say absenteeism? Did I say that?
You did not.
Okay, so yeah, so absenteeism, if you have people who are, um, you're having a problem with them showing up to work, that's also a red flag. Again, it could be a whole host of things. And then also red flags would be if people are consistently asking for things, like if you know, they want the sit to stand. If everybody's asking for that, then maybe you look at giving it to them or things like that. Or hey, our coffee maker's been broke for 6 months now. I'm tired of spending $2 on a coffee every morning. Can we go ahead and get that fixed? Just things like that.
That reminds me. In my previous role, I was so frustrated by the coffee machine. I bought my own Keurig machine
And had it at your desk?
and had it at my desk.
Okay, so that's an excellent red flag. So if you're walking around your space and you have people who have their computer monitors stacked up on boxes and they're standing at it, that's a person that wants sit to stand. I'm just telling you right now. That's a person who wants to be able to stand at their desk and they are improvising by stacking up. I saw one time a person had stacked up a bunch of phone books because God knows nobody needed those. So it's things like that. Things that, maybe they're bringing the coffee maker into their workstation. Either that or they're a serious coffee junkie that they can't even walk to the break room to get it. But it's things like that. If you're looking in their office or you're looking in their space and you're seeing just things that are a little bit out of the ordinary, those are red flags.
I've done the monitor on a bunch of Iron Mountain boxes before.
Yes, see? Because you needed sit to stand.
I did. I just was not a fan of the open floor plan at all, and I was not a fan of the coffee machines. I'm not an addict, but I'm a snob, I guess.
Yes. Got to have your good coffee.
And yeah, I just didn't like sitting forever.
Right.
But
No, it's huge. And I talked about the stairwells. If you are a company who's building out space and you have the ability to like make your stairwell really cool, do it because it will attract people to use them and to get from place to place. If you're in an office building where you're on the 7th floor and you don't own the building, so you don't have any control over what the stairwells look like. Look at running step contests or things like that, stair contests to get your people moving and getting them utilizing the stairs. So there's lots of different ways.
There's definitely ways to be creative here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How did you get into this space?
I fell into this space. I sold boxes and packaging to manufacturers for years, and I just got burnt out on that. And so I was looking on Career Builder. If that doesn't age me, I don't know what will. I don't even know if they still exist anymore, but I was looking on Career Builder and found a post about a job, and I was intrigued by two things. One, it was talking about furniture, and I was like, I don't understand because I didn't understand the contract furniture market. And then also it said that you must be willing to work a 40-hour work week. And I was also intrigued by that because I'm a hard worker and I didn't know that people were working less than 40 hours and still found a job at that point.
Yeah, 40 hours is a bargain.
I know. So I answered the post and, then got the job. And so that was my introduction into the contract furniture world. And then I was there for about 5 years. It was awesome. I learned a ton and just kind of decided I wanted to do things a little bit different and on my own. And I had a client who suggested that as well. So I did it. And that was almost 11 years ago.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats. So why Kansas City?
Um, well, born and raised here, so and I'm an only child, so I probably never get really too far. But I love this town. We're a metropolitan area of 2 million people. I always say it's the biggest small town in the country, and it's just there's so much here, and it's just every year it seems to get more exciting. We now have 3 championship uh, sports teams with Sporting KC, the Royals, and the Chiefs, and it's a great place for small business. It's a great place for entrepreneurs and startups. I mean, it's an awesome place to be. So I love it.
Did you find it easy to build your business in Kansas City?
I did. Like I said, I'm from here, so it's just if you grew up here, it's like everybody, or at least kind of the Kevin Bacon thing that of people. So that was easy. And then it was a natural rollover. So when I left the company I was at, I was still doing very similar work. And so I had some people follow me, and then just the kind of reputation and the referral business that I had generated with my, almost 5 years there followed me. So it's been that we've been successful. It's been really fun.
I had the opportunity to speak to Ryan Weber a
Uh-huh.
couple months ago, who's part of the KC Tech Council,
Yeah.
and he had nothing but great things to say about the city and how the tech scene there is booming, and that the city's doing a lot to attract small businesses.
They really are. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really like I said, it's a very small business entrepreneurial city. And if you are a startup or you're looking to start up, this is a great place to do it as well. I say even the big businesses here are supportive of the small business and the startups. So it's exciting.
What do you mean by that? That the big businesses are supportive of the small startups?
You've got big business who are giving back to the community by mentoring. There's a organization called Hellsberg Entrepreneurial Mentorship, and it pairs mentors and mentees, and so you've got mentors from big businesses here in Kansas City who are giving back to people who are looking to increase their small business, or are looking to just get that kind of feedback from people who have done great things.
So, what excites you the most about doing business in Kansas City?
um I just I don't know. I think I don't know any different, I guess, because like I said, I've been here my entire life.
Fair.
I will say we do business out of market as well. We typically follow our clients out of market, but we do have a few that we've just landed just on our own outside of our market. And I think maybe because everybody's super hardworking in Kansas City. I know we had a job in Oklahoma that we helped with some construction on that as well. And every sub contractor drove 4 hours from Kansas City every week to get this project done because we couldn't find anybody in Oklahoma who would want to do it.
Oh, wow.
I'm like,
Okay.
what? Yeah, I will say they were in a very, very, very small town, but just, couldn't get any sort of response. And so that client is so funny. They're like, man, if we ever need to do anything again, all we're doing is hiring people from Kansas City. I'm like, hell yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that says more about the job market there or the work ethic of Kansas City.
I don't know. But no, it's just fun. I think overall, Kansas City is just, like I said, we're a big, small town with a very entrepreneurial spirit, and everybody just seems very committed to our community. And it's really fun, especially like obviously the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, and it was the same way when the Royals, were in the World Series, and similarly with Sporting KC years before that. It's just this town really rallies, and it's just there's some sort of energy that happens, and it's just an amazing feeling. It gives me goosebumps. I just shared a post on LinkedIn over the weekend that Boulevard Brewing Company, which is a Kansas City-based brewery, they put out or it's coming out here pretty soon, a imperial red ale that was specifically brewed for the Chiefs, and it's called Worth the Wait, since we waited 50 years for the Super Bowl. And it's got the cutest label. It's in the Chiefs colors. Like, it's just really cool. So, I mean, it's stuff like that that just makes you love this town.
There must be something really nice about that. I'm from New York City, and we could win every championship, and you could be
You don't
blind
get
to
that?
the fact you could be blind to the fact that these things are even going on.
Yeah. And it's just, like I said, everyone rallies and comes together. It's just, it's really exciting to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just to kind of bring this back full circle, if you had one piece of advice to business owners about, what they should look for in their workspace, what they should do differently, what questions they should ask their employees, what would it be? What's the first steps here?
I would say, as a leader in your organization, to just ask the question of, what can I as a leader do for you as my team member to help you be your best here every day?
And people don't leave bad jobs. They don't even leave bad managers. They leave bad furniture.
Yeah. Yes, that is true.
All right, well, Courtnay, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. This was great. If you want to know what the future of the job application process might look like,
in a time when unemployment is low, there are a lot of companies that may want to hire you. So each one of those companies has to do a better job of convincing you, the candidate, that you should go through this process with them. And part of that is making yourself available, being there to answer those questions.
check out our episode with Ed Barrientos of Brazen Technologies, where we discuss how pre-application interviews with job candidates could result in hiring better talent in less time and cost. As always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
This has been the Cities Podcast, powered by the Business Journal's Leadership Trust. Please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a member of a Business Journal's Leadership Trust and would like to participate in our podcast series, please email your member concierge. If you're interested in joining a Business Journal's Leadership Trust, learn more at trust.bizjournals.com.